In 1975, Canadian hard rock band Moxy released their self-titled debut album, alternately known as the Black Album due to the cover, and from it, the opener, Fantasy. One of those ultimate open cadence anthemic openings with that sounded by the gong. And you know, this opening somewhat is reminiscent of Jade Warrior in their more hard rocking moments. Yeah, it was almost kind of like a mixture of like Vertigo, the harder rocking Vertigo, Jade Warrior with like Wall Gong, something they would use on like Way of the Sun. Okay, and that is vocalist Buzz Shearman, who's got kind of the masculine mid-range with just a slight trace of that kind of girly high-pitched tone, you know, just of the David Surkamp type of singing. We cried tears of joy, waiting for the sun. Then you took my heart, said I was the chosen one. Okay, the touches that underlie his vocals are just so subtle and nuanced. It's like we had that, you know, that ding 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 of the cymbal. We had those like, you know, those up, those like up strums on the guitar and. Hear the vibrato in his voice as he says like the word dreaming and. Okay, that guitar solo you just heard is by a certain American guitar prodigy who only had less than 2 years left to live. Led me to another land where the peaceful waters flow. In time is no demand. We left on a breeze, sailing over crystal seas. Sailing on the crystal sea. That could describe that subtle keyboard that we're hearing. That's just kind of like dropping these little notes along. It sounds like both electric piano and piano. Tom Stephenson credited with piano on this track. And I knew I was free to be whatever I would be. But I was only dreaming, and dreams pass on by. Yes, I was only dreaming. Okay, we've really tensed up now and we're careening toward the climax of the track. Amazingly, I was able to pull up the lyrics to this. I was standing in the rain, calling out your name. You were running to my arms, filled with love's sweet charms. We cried tears of joy, waiting for the sun. Then you took my heart, said I was the chosen one. But I was only dreaming, and dreams pass on by. Yes, I was only dreaming, oh. Then you took my hand, led me to another land where the peaceful waters flow, and time is an older man. And time is an older man. Interesting metaphor. We left on a breeze, yeah, sailing on a crystal sea, and I knew I was free to be whatever I would be. But I was only dreaming, as dreams pass on by. Well, okay, and getting to the climax. Won't you take me away, girl? I love you so. Save me, I'm drifting away. And then that same line. You're just a memory of yesterday. Mix of like close cadence and open cadence, like tight rhythm section amid like sustained lyrical guitar leads. And there are two guitarists in the band, Earl Johnson and Buddy Caine. Plus, there's a third guy credited. Okay, I am going to assume that the lead guitarist on that track is actually Earl Johnson. Yeah, because I don't because it was a very moving, effective guitar solo, but it wasn't anything that let's see. Well, Buddy Caine. Oh, wait a minute. Buddy Caine is listed on the album cover, but did not join the band until after the album was finished. Huh? That's what. Oh, okay. Okay, but it still says that he plays guitar. That's what Wiki says, yeah. So I'm going to assume that Buddy Caine was responsible for the riffage and Earl Johnson was responsible for the guitar. Now, as to the comment I made earlier without specifying the name, I'm not sure we heard a certain legend who died young because I didn't hear anything that... I would imagine a band having to phone in for, like any blazing rapid fire solo. But let's see if we hear that on this next track, and if not, I'll announce the name at the end. Yeah, okay. The track we just heard, Fantasy, the opening cut off the debut album by Moxie, and this is track 2, Sail On, Sail Away. That invites obvious comparisons to Over the Hills and Far Away, kind of the way that you have that kind of like those notes, those fiddly notes followed by the strum on that guitar. Yeah, like. Drifting along
song. I'm wondering why I never ever cried.
Okay, let's see. Rise up in the morning, look out at the world, brings a smile to my face. There's a south wind blowing, calling my name, taking me to another place, drifting along, singing a song, wondering why I never ever cry. There's someone waiting somewhere for me, somewhere far across the sea. Well, sea seems to be a constant metaphor of, I'm assuming, yeah. Anyway, there's with hair of gold and eyes that shine so bright, she waits for me in the night. Yes, I will love you. I love you more and more. Baby, don't you leave me. Don't you close the door. Yeah, it seems to be a preoccupation of Buzz Shearman. If he, yeah, written by, okay.
There's someone waiting somewhere for me, somewhere far across the sea.
The songs are written by Earl Johnson, with 3 exceptions, none of which are in this segment. The two that we're hearing here are by the guitarist.
Hair of gold and eyes that shine so bright. She waits for me in the night. I love you, don't you close the door. I love you, don't you close the door. Sail on, sail away. Getting closer day by day.
Getting a slight Black Cloud feel from this. I'm talking about trapeze.
Sail on, sail away. Oh, my land won't you wait for me, baby. 'Cause I love you and always will. Well, you know I keep on searching, searching every day. And the more I travel on, see the more I drift away.
I like that change of cadence that we go through this like flowing passage, very much driven along by that bass line, versus like the choppier, kind of blockier segments that characterize much of this piece. I think that may have been the guy.
There's a road that's leading from here. Together we can find the light, yeah. So take my hand and I will lead you through the dark and lonely night. Sail on, sail
You know, one criticism that some people have had about hard rock of the 70s is that it was all rock and no roll, that it could have used some rebop, that it was chunky, lumbering at times. I love it when a band like this shows that they can go from kind of that quality, they can be really choppy, really rough and just rhythmically rough and such, and then lumpy at times almost, and then they can go into these passages that have a lot of flow to them, that not only show that they can roll as well as rock, but they can almost swing, as we were almost getting into there. And I think we might have heard some licks by none other than Tommy Bolin. Yeah, that's who I was talking about. And he's credited with playing solos on this album, but I can't find an entry that specifies exactly which. That comes from Wikipedia. But otherwise, the songwriter Earl Johnson is credited with guitar, specifically lead guitar, while the other fellow, Buddy Caine, is credited with guitar, like presumably rhythm guitar, although he hadn't actually joined at the time this album was recorded. He's still, so it's unclear to me whether he was actually on there. Oh, and Terry Juric, whose work is the bassist, whose work was standing out quite considerably in this number as well, and Bill Wade on drums, giving us some good, solid beats as well as some creative fills and rhythmic components and such. Yeah, Moxie, a hard rock band from Canada that would release 3 albums between 1975 and 1977 with Buzz Shearman, who left afterwards and was replaced for a brief time by one Mike Reno for the 1978 release Under the Lights. And then they promptly disbanded, and Mike Reno, of course, going on to one of the biggest international success stories from Canada of the early 1980s. And I know that Buzz Shearman died young, although not as early as I thought. I thought he actually died and was replaced by Mike Reno. No, he left the band and ultimately passed away of a drug overdose in 1983 at the age of 33. Sad story either way. But and the first 2 Moxie albums, interesting. They both have like identical covers, except one is black with white letters, the other is red with like silver letter or light blue letters with the numero 2 right next to the nameplate. Yeah, and when I was first working my way through this band's catalog, I thought that they were one of the few bands, of the many bands influenced by Led Zeppelin, one of the few that actually sounded like Led Zeppelin, actually got some of the rhythmic qualities down. I sense, as I was playing these and listening really closely, I think, nah, I'm not going to hammer that point much. I don't want to overstress it. Funny enough, there were a few, the few bands who I thought did actually sound like Led Zeppelin, I think were all Canadian. Like this band, The Hunt. Yeah, the only band from the UK I could really think of off the top of my head is Lone Star, a Welsh band. Yeah, for all the music that that Led Zeppelin were supposedly spawned, there were few that actually sounded like similar, like in the rhythm department and the vocals and the various nuances and such. Anyway, yeah, Moxie, one of many fine Canadian acts to emerge on the mid-70s Canadian hard rock scene. For more rubies and sapphires from the catalog of Moxie, see the directory of albums by Canadian artists linked in the description below. Like and subscribe, follow me on social media, share the video, and leave a comment if there are any observations you have about the 2 tracks we just heard, the riffage, the power, the nuances, the interplay, the soloing, the vocals, the lyrics. And until next time, this is Zaragon, the world's most ear-traveled Tremaximist, signing off.